10 days ago, Joe Biden created a mild and momentary controversy with his greeting of the Fort Myers mayor in the aftermath of the hurricane.
No one yeah, goddamn right.
Now don't misunderstand, the controversy is not the president's crude choice of language. The controversy is the preposterous content of the statement. Everyone fucks with Biden. Teleprompters fuck with Biden.
End of quote. Repeat the line.
Stairs fuck with Biden. Crosswalks absolutely fuck with Biden. Even Biden fucks with Biden.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
And much more seriously consequential in his role as the most popularly elected president of all time, almost everyone fucks with Biden on the international stage, not by my critical assessment, but by Biden's own scapegoating. Hey, sorry about the rising cost of everything, but really it's only because of Russia and Saudi Arabia fucking with Biden.
And I realize costs are going up on food, and I was able to bring gasoline down well over $1.60, but it's inching up because of what the Russians and the Saudis just did.
When the news to which he's referring broke that OPEC, the alliance of oil-producing nations, is cutting production by 2 million barrels a day just a month before the midterm elections, I wondered if this was simply another episode of that meddling. How much of this move is for legitimate and necessary economic reasons, and how much of it is just a great opportunity for other countries to Nelson Muntz point and laugh when they've got us by the balls, if there even are any balls left to get anyway. Well, it turns out there is some truth to that suspicion, that there is some political gamesmanship afoot, a little bit of them messing with us, a little bit of us messing with them, and who started that game is debatable. But who loses that game is not. We, the people, lose every game when our president prioritizes his own electoral prospects over wise policy. And that is exactly what has happened in this case. Biden begging the Saudis not to help you out at the pump, but just to help himself in the voting booth, or maybe just in the drop box in the upcoming even freer, even fairer sequel to the freest, fairest election of all time. Recall the current tensions with Saudi Arabia started over the summer, ironically, with what was supposed to be a visit to repair that relationship. The photo of Biden fist-bumping Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in July was widely criticized as an overly friendly gesture with a foreign dictator. But it wasn't just counter to the critics' sensibilities. It was counter to Biden's own logic. During a presidential debate just 2 years prior, Biden had pledged to make Saudi Arabia a, quote, pariah country. Biden said there is very little social redeeming value in Saudi Arabia's government, and he would make them pay the price. Now, how fist-bumping and appeasing the Saudis as president is making them pay that price has yet to be explained, or maybe the quote was just misunderstood. When Biden said they will pay, maybe he meant you. Filling up your car, referring to the price of dependence on Saudi and other foreign oil sources. But either way, the fist bump wasn't really the main controversy of the meeting. What Biden did or did not say about murdered Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was. Of course, the reason that Biden called Saudi Arabia a pariah in the first place, and the reason the July meeting and the fist bump were controversial, is because Biden believes, as U.S. intelligence reports, that bin Salman personally approved that murder. But if that's the case, then why are you getting so chummy with a murderer? That was the natural follow-up question. I didn't, Biden said. In fact, during the meeting, I looked bin Salman straight in the turban and I called him a murdery son of a bitch myself, or something like that. Perhaps a little more measured, according to Biden's later account of the conversation with reporters.
I said very straightforwardly, for an American president to be silent on an issue of human rights, is this inconsistent with who we are and who I am? He basically said that he was not personally responsible for it. I indicated I thought he was.
But the trouble is, there is no recording of that meeting, so we have to rely on the description of a man who's otherwise searching the room for dead people as accurate. And the other trouble is the Saudis say pics or it didn't happen. The Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs was part of the meeting. He said the issue of Khashoggi did come up and that Biden said he understood the Saudi position, but that at no point did Biden blame Saudi Arabia or the Crown Prince for the killing. The reason that conflict is relevant in the oil context is because reportedly, it really pissed off the Crown Prince and other Saudi officials. As part of Biden's visit, there was an agreement made for the Saudis to push OPEC to raise oil production by 500,000 barrels a day. But according to a new Wall Street Journal report this week, bin Salman ordered that increase reduced to only 100,000 barrels a day immediately after Biden's visit. When the State Department noticed that move, they sent an email to the Saudi energy minister and said the Saudis had broken their word about a larger increase in oil production. Well, that further pissed off the Saudis, causing another production cut, this time a 100,000 barrel a day drop in September, followed by the major cut of 2 million barrels a day announced on October 5th, which Biden has opposed and called short-sighted. Well, it sounds more short-sighted to rely on the short-sighted for such a crucial resource, but that is the plan. And up until this point, we were led to believe that Biden was simply opposing this production cut by the Saudis in general, that he was fighting them to help out the American consumer. But this is where the policy shifts from just unwise to outright corrupt. According to new information this week, the frenzied reaction at the White House is, of course, not about protecting your wallet, at least directly. It is about what else? Protecting their own election day prospects. In addition to the email accusing Saudi Arabia of breaking the deal, Biden publicly accused Saudi Arabia of supporting the OPEC oil production cut to help Russia, of taking Russia's side, because higher oil prices will help Russia weather the war and the international sanctions that have resulted. In response, on Wednesday, the Saudi foreign minister released a statement to rebut that accusation, explaining that it's purely the economic realities of reduced demand that create this necessity to cut production. But read a little further down, and there's quite the accusation buried in there. Here's paragraph 5 of the statement. Saudi Arabia has clarified through its continuous consultation with the Biden administration that all economic analyses indicate that postponing the oil production cut for a month, according to what has been suggested by the Biden administration, would have negative economic consequences. Please, oh please, Mr. Crown Prince, just wait a month. Just one more month. Do whatever the hell you want. After November 8th, I really don't give a damn after that, because I'm in it for me, not for them. And yeah, that is an inference from the word of the Saudis, and we wouldn't be wise to believe their claims at face value either, but we don't have to. The White House has confirmed it. On Thursday, White House spokesman John Kirby admitted that they asked Saudi Arabia for the month delay in the decision, but for purely economic reasons, of course. Quote, "We presented Saudi Arabia with analysis to show that there was no market basis to cut production targets, and they could easily wait for the next OPEC meeting to see how things developed. December 4th would be a much better day to consider such things." But why? If the economy is going to get better any day now, as we constantly hear from their propaganda otherwise, then these cuts won't be necessary anytime soon anyway. Either they are lying about economic prospects, or they're lying about the reason they want to see this delay, or both. Everything's a damn lie is always the wisest bet with these people. And maybe you're thinking, okay, so what though? Politicians prioritizing their own interests over ours is nothing new. It may be wrong, but it's commonly wrong. So what's the corruption angle beyond that? If the 2019 classic phrase quid pro quo is getting a revival in this story, maybe there's a quid, but what's the quo? Well, stop me if you've heard this one before, but as a result of the Saudis refusing to obey Biden's electoral wishes, Biden is now threatening to reduce or cut off defense aid. That's right, we're going to stop selling weapons to the Saudis. This one of many options for punishment that the White House is currently exploring, according to Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan. Well, that sounds exactly like the headlines from 3 years ago. President orders ally nation to help him politically under threat of revoking aid if they don't. You may recall the violation of that rule was once deemed an impeachable offense. Now, of course, I'm not here to pretend to be shocked that the 2019 principle against such things will not be upheld in this case. I'm not here to tell you to be shocked at yet another example of brazen political hypocrisy. Party in power attempts to cling to power by suddenly abandoning standard it weaponized yesterday to gain power is news as constant as the sunrise, or, in this context, as constant as the inflation rate exceeding expectations. or the corresponding market drop exceeding expectations, or the sharpness of the angle at which you must bend over to provide a decent quality of life for your family exceeding expectations. But that's really the point. As silly as that 2019 impeachment may have been, or as unlikely as its sequel is on principle, it is not Trump or Biden who pay the price for this latest iteration of the same fact pattern. It is us. It is the necessary consequence of relying on foreign actors for such crucial resources. Is it possible that the Saudis are lying and being politically vindictive? Sure. They have reason to be, whether or not they're right to be. Is it possible the Saudis are acting for purely economic reasons, as they say they are in their statement? Sure. As economies decline, consumption declines, and therefore demand declines. As demand declines, supply will decline right along with it. That is not Saudi propaganda. That's basic economics. But why would we build our country to depend on those uncertainties anyway? Every minute we spend shaking our fists at the Saudis or the Russians or anyone else beyond our borders is a minute in which we could have put those fists to use, building our own prosperity instead. Stop yelling internationally and start producing domestically. That's the solution if the Saudis are lying. That's the solution if the Saudis are telling the truth. Follow Biden's own logic. Inflation is driven by energy costs.
Energy and food prices account for half of the monthly price increases since May.
Energy costs are increased by Saudi Arabia.
It's inching up because of what the Russians and the Saudis just did.
Therefore, Saudi Arabia is causing inflation. Therefore, stop scrambling for deals with the Saudis. Start building independence from them, not dependence on them, assuming that is actually the shared goal, of course, which is probably an unwise assumption. If there's anything more foolish than trusting countries halfway across the world to provide us with vital resources, it's trusting that Joe will bring us to prosperity, or that he even wants to. So maybe he is right, and I'm the idiot. Nobody fucks with Biden. He just fucks with you. At this point, his achievements in demonstration are totally undeniable. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Minds. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.